see. Where is my video? There we go. All right, I can see myself now and know we are live. I know you guys get a kick out of my face when I'm trying to see if I'm live or not, but it says I am, so we are going to get started. How's everybody doing today? Let me know in the chat if you guys can hear me and see me all right. I am using yet another new technology today for my streams. So just want to make sure I'm coming through. You guys can see me and hear me. All right. Let me do a couple things here. There we go. So hi, Mona. Thanks for being here. Good to have you. Yeah. Let's see. Who else here? God, lots happening in the chat even before the live today. Hi, C. Kelly. Nice to have you. Hi, Troy. The school bell has rung. We are in session. And if you guys, again, if you can tell me that you can hear me all right. Memphis barbecue. Hi. First time on the live stream. Wife and kids are out of the house and I've got the speakers on. Good for you. Memphis BBQ. I really, really like your screen name there. That is my hometown. I grew up in Memphis and moved out to Denver when I was 22. So about 18 years ago. So nice to have you. Nice to have somebody from Memphis here. And we've got Josie. We have Josie here from Escape the Alternative Health Matrix. She is my coworker and good friend, and she is moderating today. If you guys haven't, go check out her channel. She has a novel, groundbreaking approach to healing and outgrowing autoimmune diseases and chronic illnesses, and her channel is phenomenal, and you can learn some really great things there. So be sure to go check her out and subscribe to her channel if you haven't already. And we're gonna get going here soon. So glad to have you guys here. Hi, Steve. Jenny Dorn, nice to have you. Ready to fix what I broke. That is a woman willing and open to take responsibility for herself and look at herself and what she contributes to the relationship. So I'm going to put the chat down for now. So happy to have you guys here. As always, I think I forgot to post my comment today that I like to post, but please keep it respectful in the chat today of each other. You guys do a pretty good job. And then Josie's here moderating. So she'll be keeping an eye out for things that are not good in the chat, not good to keep a good environment for everybody on the live stream. And I always like to start just reminding you who my channel is for. So my channel is for women married to good men. If you're confused or haven't heard me talk about what a good man is, which I have often, go check out one of my first episodes on what is a good man. And I go in depth to what a good man is, what the opposite of a good man is, which is not a bad man. The opposite of a good man is what I call a bad boy, who can be perfectly nice people in life. They are just manipulative and not nice to women. And that's not the type of relationship I'm talking to. So if you are a woman married to a good man and you see yourself as the problem and you want to work on yourself to grow and learn and be the best wife you can be for yourself and your husband, then this channel is for you. And it's also for men, good men married to women who struggle with the dynamics of what I talk about in my channel. My channel is not for extreme dysfunctional, physically abusive relationships. If that is you, I am so sorry for you in that situation, and it is best that you seek out a trained, licensed professional to support you in your relationship and help you to make plans and put a plan in place to be able to leave. And that goes for a man or a woman in an extreme dysfunctional or physically abusive relationship. So with that being said, I'm excited for our topic today. I always have a great time with my mentor coming up with the titles and thumbnails for my videos. And I know the one for today is a good one. Duties of a wife in bed. and 3 obligations that women have with sex. And there was a comment I saw in the chat of when sex becomes an obligation, everybody loses. And so what I want to set up right away in this video is that the name of my channel is the Happy Wife School. And what we need to know as women is that in order to be a happy wife, you need to know and understand your responsibility to yourself as a woman with sex. That sex is something that you engage with for yourself, to know yourself as a woman, and that your husband gets to have the benefit of that, because sex is a healthy part of a relationship, and we all know that. So sex is in the vow we make in getting married, sex is an obligation, meaning it is a responsibility. And something that as women, we have a responsibility to stay engaged with for ourselves and to honor and be in integrity with the vows we made when we got married. So that's been my journey. And one of the reasons I wanted to do this video and I enjoy talking about sex and marriage is, one, it's one of the most uncomfortable and least discussed issues in a marriage. And it has been a huge part of my own journey, of my own personal growth as a woman and a wife, and getting to know myself and learning to have a healthy relationship and a loving, happy marriage with my husband. And so it's a really, really important topic. And when we look at what's important to a man in a relationship, in a marriage, typically, in general, sex is in the top 3 of what is most important to a man. You can go watch my video, Why Men Need Sex, to learn more about that. And for us as women, it might not even be on our top 10. Sex might not even be on our top 10 of what is important to us. And I've talked to plenty of women, and I've heard from men too, whose wives had said to them, they would be fine if they never had sex again in their life. But my perspective is that sex is imperative for us as women to have a healthy relationship with ourselves, to know ourselves, and to be able to express ourselves as women. It's one of the contexts in my life that has allowed me to get to know me as a woman in my own femininity, my softness, my caring, nurturing side, the part of us as women that internally are lovely and sensual. Sex is a context to get to know ourselves as women. And that's one of the key purposes of my channel directed for women, is for us to get to know ourselves and express ourselves as real women, because we've lost touch with who we are. So the other piece of why I thought it was important to talk about the duties of for women in the bedroom and the obligations we have as women with sex is that we need to understand as women that we are responsible for our own experience of sex, that it is not our husband's responsibility to unlock and have the unlocking the secret code to what we enjoy and giving us a pleasurable sexual experience. And that's the responsibility that we have placed on men, that we have placed on our husbands, that we need to take back and take responsibility for ourselves. So for the men watching, this video is for good men to know that you are not responsible for your wife to have an enjoyable experience in bed. And for the women listening that just got really triggered, of course, a good man wants to satisfy his woman and wants to be a good sexual partner. But ladies, when we don't know ourselves and we don't know what we like and enjoy and can't lovingly guide our husbands in that direction, it is not their responsibility to figure us out. And again, to unlock the secret code of what turns us on and what gives us an enjoyable sexual experience. That is our responsibility. So everything I'm going to talk about today funnels into that, of what our obligations are to ourselves, that then our marriage and our husband get the benefit of. So I'm not taking us back to the 1950s or anything like that. I'm just opening the window for us to look at ourselves and take responsibility for our experience. Because again, part of the vows we made when we got married was to have sex and keep sex alive as part of a healthy relationship. And for the women watching who are disengaged from sex, shut down to sex, if you are withholding sex for any reason in your marriage, which includes if you still have sex, but you are checked out and you are withholding yourself in the experience of sex with your husband, then you are out of integrity with your vows that you made when you got married. And that's what I had to see for myself. I had checked out with sex. I began to treat it like an obligation, a chore, and a burden. And I was out of integrity with myself and out of integrity with the commitment and the vows that I made to my husband. So it's re-engaging for yourself and stopping the excuses that we have to not have sex, and stopping the blame and stop being a victim to our husbands and what we think they have done to us in the relationship that we have withdrawn from sex or have begun to withhold it, and re-engaging for ourselves. I think there's even just for the everyday woman, and especially modern women, we have allowed ourselves to get sucked into the vortex of the feminist movement of my body, my choice, and that it's up to us if we want to have sex in our relationship, our marriage, or not. And I see it from a place of, no, we made a commitment to follow through and getting married to a man, that it's an important aspect, and we knew that. And if we slow down and we're honest with ourselves, we all know that we enjoy sex and we enjoyed it in the beginning. So we re-engage for ourselves and we stop living with the excuse of my body, my choice, and feeling entitled to withhold sex in our marriage, especially when we're married to good men who, I'll give a brief description, are loving, kind, responsible, hardworking men who love us and want nothing but for us to be happy. And they will go to the end of the earth to do the things to try to make us happy. And so I liked my thumbnail for the video today, that time to pay our debt, because part of the definition of obligation is to pay our debt for out of gratitude for a service or favor. And when you allow your husband to be the good man that he is in the relationship and just who he is by nature, the amount of which they will do for us to provide, to make sure that we are safe, to make sure we're secure, to make sure that we are happy, is this sex is a very, very small token of appreciation that means the world to your husband in the marriage and who he is as a man. And when we reconnect with, as women, that we enjoy sex, it is so simple. And one of the things I like to ask women when I talk to them and they are disengaged with sex is, I'll ask them, have you ever not been in the mood and you decide to have sex anyway, and after it's done, do you ever stop and think like, oh man, I wish I hadn't done that? And the answer is always no, because once we re-engage and we have sex, and this was my experience as well, it's kind of like, what was the big deal? Why did I make that such a big deal? This was so nice. I'm so glad we did that. So it's something that we do for ourselves that then our husband gets the benefit. And if you're disengaged or you're withholding sex, you need to understand that you are the one missing out. You're the one missing out on yourself. You're missing out on a lovely, enjoyable, pleasurable experience that you get to have with one person, your husband, that you guys get to share together. And it doesn't have to be a big deal. It's an opportunity, again, to get to know yourself as a woman. And it's not nice. It's not nice to withhold sex and be disengaged with sex in your marriage. It's not a good look. And you're missing out on yourself, and you're missing out on sharing who you are and sharing a very important part of the marriage with your husband. So stop it. Just stop it. So we're going to now get into the three obligations that women have in sex when you are married. And I want to make it very clear as I step into this, that the nuances, it's an obligation to yourself. It's an obligation to yourself and being a woman and a wife of character and integrity. So the first obligation that women have in sex, it is your obligation to know your body and what you like and don't like in the bedroom. I repeat that. The first obligation, it is your obligation to know your body and what you like and don't like in the bedroom. And when you do the work to know yourself and know what you like and don't like in the bedroom, ladies, it is your responsibility and the obligation you have to yourself and to your husband. It is your responsibility to clearly communicate, again, in a loving way, not as a victim blaming your husband, just as a grown-up, mature adult woman, your responsibility to clearly communicate to your husband so it is not a guessing game for him. It is not your husband's job to create the romance and environment to turn you on. It is your responsibility to know what you enjoy and create the environment for yourself to create the romance and the environment you need to be turned on, and your husband will benefit and engage and love it. He is not a mind reader. Your husband is not a mind reader. And he's not a bad boy. So as women, before we got married, we often fell into the traps of with bad boys. And I'm not going to go too deep into this, but bad boy does not mean bad man. Bad boy just means the men that your dad warned you about to not get involved with. They were the ones who lived life fast, who could just get us turned on without doing much. And then we began to put the responsibility in men to do that for us. But most of us married good men, and they are not bad boys. They are loving, gentle, heartfelt men who want to know what to do, who want to please you in bed. But it is your responsibility to know what that takes and clearly communicate. He's not a mind reader, and he's not a bad boy that can get you all spun up with just a look. He's a good man. So the problem for us as women, and this was my experience, is that we never took the time to get to know what we liked. We never took the time to get to know what we didn't like and explore our bodies and to know ourselves. For most of us as women, we actually resent being women. And then we don't even know the anatomy of our own bodies. And for me, as I started to reflect on that and realize that for me, it was, I always did what I thought men liked. I became who I thought I needed to be and was like a performer because I had a hidden agenda. And as women, if we slow down and we're honest with ourselves, we have a hidden agenda of what we want to get from a man. So we show up as who we think we need to be sexually to fulfill that ulterior motive and hidden agenda. And in that, we're performing, and we've never learned who we actually are in sex, what we like. We never learned our own bodies. And as I began to reflect on that and know that for myself, then it seemed kind of crazy that I would put that responsibility on my husband, that he's supposed to know my body and he's supposed to know what I like and then provide that when I don't even or didn't even know my own body and what I liked. That doesn't make sense. So that's our responsibility to do for ourselves and realize that we've gotten really, really lost from who we are and don't know how to be ourselves in the bedroom. So when we begin to get to know ourselves, what we like, what we don't like, and lovingly be able to guide and clearly communicate that with our husbands, again, as grown-up, mature adults, not being a victim, thinking it's his fault that we've gotten to that place because it's not his fault, then we actually begin to enjoy sex for ourselves. And we were made, and in my beliefs, God made us exactly as we are to be able to enjoy sex with our husbands. Gave us all the right parts for it to be pleasurable. And when we remember that and we reconnect that we enjoy sex, and there's a really simple way to do that. Just remember when you met your husband and you enjoyed getting together and you enjoyed having sex, then our husband gets the benefit. Because when we show up engaged and we're enjoying sex for ourselves, it makes them feel good about who they are as men, and they enjoy seeing us and experiencing us enjoying sex in the bedroom. But that is our responsibility to be able to give that to ourselves. So it's important to know, sorry, I got my notes confused here, that when you remember you enjoy sex, it makes sex very simple and all the issues disappear. So this leads into the second obligation, the second obligation we have as women in the bedroom and with sex. Number 2, it is your obligation to initiate sex. It is your obligation, ladies, to initiate sex. So let me explain. Because when I was first taught that, I was very triggered and very upset, and had to do quite a bit of work to move through that. The reason that it is our obligation to ourselves and our obligation to our husbands to initiate sex is that it tells us that we are important to ourselves and value the experience of sex with our husbands, and then in turn tells your husband that you value him and what is important to him in the relationship. The opposite of initiating sex with your husband is withholding, denying him the experience of sex or denying him the experience of you in sex because you are checked out. And the problem for us as women in our women ways and emasculating our husbands and withholding sex is we have created an environment where it is unsafe for our husbands to initiate sex with us. I'm going to repeat that because it's really important. We have created an environment in our marriage with our husbands in our woman ways and emasculating them and withholding sex. We have created an unsafe environment for them to be able to initiate sex with us. And I can't tell you the women I have talked to and the men I have talked to who are experiencing this. When I hear from the ladies, it's my husband doesn't pursue me anymore. And I help them to see, well, the reason he doesn't pursue you anymore is the amount of which you have rejected him and withheld sex. And when I speak with the men that I work with, they share their fear and trepidation of initiating sex with their wives because of how much she rejects him and how uncomfortable it is to try to initiate, not knowing, is she going to reciprocate? Is she going to be open? And then most often facing that rejection over and over and over again. And there is nothing more demeaning to a man than to be rejected by his wife over and over and over again with sex. It is destructive to his sense of being a man that we constantly reject them. So if you're a woman and you're married to a good man and you have emasculated him and are living in your woman ways, you have to re-engage with sex for yourself to get to know yourself, what you like and don't like, and begin to initiate in your marriage so that your husband doesn't have to guess when you are in the mood and if it's okay and if you are going to be open and receptive. And what happens is that you begin to feel good about yourself because you're, again, showing yourself that sex is important to you and you value that experience of yourself as a woman and value the experience of sharing yourself as a woman with your husband in the bedroom. And then your husband knows and doesn't have to guess and can feel cared for, and that you value him and he's important to you because you are willing to initiate sex. So that is the third obligation that we have as women. Again, nuance to ourselves that then our husband gets the benefit. It is our obligation to initiate sex. The third obligation that we have as women with sex, if an orgasm is important to you, it is your obligation and responsibility to get yourself to climax. If you are a woman and it is important to you to have an orgasm, it is your obligation and responsibility to get yourself to climax. It is not your husband's responsibility. Again, not a mind reader. It is not his responsibility to get you to climax. Doesn't mean he's not part of the equation, but it is our responsibility to know what it takes. And then again, to lovingly guide them and communicate clearly what we enjoy, what we like, that allows us to have that experience. And working with women over the years, I'd say, and if you do any kind of research and look at percentages, I think it's anywhere from what I read, 50 to 65% of women struggle to experience an orgasm. It's 50 to 65% of women struggle to experience an orgasm. So we have to ask ourselves, as I like to talk about the different camps, do we want to be in camp victim, where we blame men or our husband for that experience and our struggle and challenge to achieve an orgasm? Or do we want to live in camp take responsibility and understand, what is it about me and what do I need to understand about myself to open up to have the ability to have an orgasm? It's not a man's fault. It's not your husband's fault. It's our responsibility to know our bodies and, again, to know what it takes. And if you are a woman who struggles or it's a challenge for you to climax, what we have to see is that's us being shut down in ourselves and shutting down the experience of feeling, because we're scared to allow ourselves to go there. And when we don't feel good just about who we are, sex is a mirror showing us that we've shut down to ourselves. So it's an ability to build a healthy relationship with ourselves, to be open to feeling, to allow ourselves to learn how to experience an orgasm. And a lot of women are victims and blame men and think it's unfair that for a man in general, that's going to happen pretty easily and how they are wired. And for us as women, we have to learn our bodies and know what it takes to get there, because it's not an automatic. We're not wired the same way as men. And in working with women and knowing the experience of myself as well, we often feel like a burden to ourselves. And it feels like a burden to have to do the work or know what it takes to get ourselves there, and then guide or teach our husband. And again, in a loving way, not as a victim, putting the responsibility on him, but taking responsibility for yourself, that you need to know what it takes and opening up to that experience. It's not your husband's fault if you're challenged with that. It's not men's fault. It's our responsibility that we haven't gotten to know ourselves. So men, for the men listening, it is really, really, really important to know that it's not your responsibility. If your wife struggles to climax or have an orgasm, and that's important to her, and she blames you and has made you feel inadequate in the bedroom, that you don't have the right techniques to understand her body and to get her there, you need to know that is not your responsibility. Of course, you want that. And I'm not saying men shouldn't be a willing partner, because good men are. But your wife has to know what it takes. It's not your fault. You are not the problem if she struggles and is challenged in that area. So ladies, you need to hear me. The good men are givers. They are. Good men are givers. And they want to know what satisfies you. They're problem solvers. Tell me what I need to do. And that's include it in the bedroom, tell me what to need to do, and I'll do it, because then maybe you'll want sex more. If you enjoy it and you're guiding me there, maybe she'll want to have sex more. So they want to meet you there, but they're not the problem in your inability to enjoy yourself and feel pleasure in that way if it's important to you. And I say important to you because I've worked with women over the years who in sex, it's not that important to them if they climax or not. They're perfectly fine with or without. So you have to know, again, what's important to you. And if that is important to you and you enjoy that experience of yourself, it's your responsibility. And it's your responsibility if you haven't been able to. So stop blaming your husband. Take responsibility to get to know yourself and what it takes, and then lovingly and gently guide your husband in the bedroom. So now I want to get to the solution. We've looked at the 3 obligations that women have in the bedroom. Number 1, that it's your responsibility to know what you like and don't like, and then be able to clearly communicate that. Number 2, that it is your obligation to initiate sex. And number 3, that if an orgasm is important to you, it is your obligation and responsibility to know what it takes to get yourself to climax. It is not your husband's responsibility. So the solution. So women, I want to remind you that today and what I am talking about is to support you in knowing and connecting with yourself as a woman so you feel good about yourself. The purpose of being a happy wife, of being a good wife, is for you to feel good about yourself, that you are following through with the vows you made and the commitment you made to your husband. And then he gets the benefit. That's the nuance. As women, we tend to have sex for the man, and then we're nowhere to be found. And that's where we get resentful. That's where we feel sex is a burden. So we need to slow down and remember, it's for us. It's something we enjoy and something we get the experience of, that we get to have with our husband, and our husband gets the benefit. So you have to flip it, that you're having sex for yourself to enjoy the experience of yourself so that you can give freely and allow your husband to get the benefit. There's another video that you can watch that I did a while back. The thumbnail is Sex is Just Like Baking. And I think the title is Women in Sex, We Make It So Complicated. That's a good video to watch about having sex for the experience of yourself and allowing your husband to get the benefit of it as your husband and a good man who deserves that in the relationship. So the solution for us is to remember that we enjoy sex and we have all the right parts to be able to enjoy sex. And I want to offer a book that really helped me. I don't recommend a ton of books, but there are like 3 or 4 books that have really, really aided and helped me on my own journey. And a book that supported me in opening back up and re-engaging with sex in my marriage years ago is called Real Sex for Real Women by Dr. Laura Berman. Real Sex for Real Women by Dr. Laura Berman. And it's a very, very good book. The first few chapters are explaining and teaching about our anatomy as women, normalizing sex, and it's just a really, really healthy outlook on sex as a healthy part of the experience of ourselves and the experience of our marriage. And then the 2/3 of the book, maybe half, are different positions, but it's done very tastefully, very eloquently, and you can start to explore different things you might like or find what you don't like, and be able to communicate that. The key is for women, and I've talked about this before, is that sex is a symptom of us being unhappy in ourselves and not feeling good about who we are and having an unhealthy relationship with ourselves. So the first key piece for us as women is that we have to learn to be happy in ourselves. We have to learn to have a healthy relationship with ourselves. If we don't have that foundation, we are going to do sex as a should. We are going to do it as a checklist. We're going to do it as an obligation. And then there's no you in it. The key for sex to be enjoyable for yourself and for your husband is that there needs to be a you. You need to be present and engaged in the experience of sex. And if you're disconnected from yourself and you're unhappy in yourself, there's nothing you are going to do to work on sex that's going to solve the issue. You have to work on the core problem, which is the relationship you have with yourself that then you project onto sex and you project onto your husband, that keeps us shut down. When I was unhappy and didn't have a healthy relationship with myself, and I tried to work on sex in my marriage and tried to work on different techniques and, oh gosh, all kinds of crazy stuff, it made it worse. I shut down more. I pushed my husband away more. He got more confused. It was a mess. And so when I healed the relationship with myself, began to do the things to show me that I mattered, that I was important to me, began to develop my character and integrity, that's when I was able to open back up to sex and just remember that I enjoy sex and I enjoy sex with my husband, and to stop making it a big deal. So that's the core issue that we have to work on. Sex is just a symptom of our own unhappiness within ourselves. The solution for men is that for men, there's so much out there of what you need to be doing to solve the issues and hangups that your wife has around sex. And I want men to know you can't heal that. There's nothing you can do to get your wife to re-engage with sex other than being able to use your wife's treatment of you in the marriage with sex and the other woman ways that I talk about, to look at the limitations within yourself that has allowed you to unknowingly give your power away to your wife so that you can regain your strength and confidence and your sense of being a man, regardless of if your wife changes or not. It's something you do for yourself. And it's only from that place that if you have an open-minded wife, that she will respond positively to you regaining your strength and confidence and begin to see that her games and manipulations are not going to work anymore. And she will step up and grow and change with you. And she will see you as a man again. But unfortunately, many men are married to closed-minded women who are not interested in looking at themselves, working on themselves, and changing. And so for those men, I like to remind you that you did not get the wrong woman, didn't get the wrong wife. You married a woman. And if you choose to stay, because it's a choice, I don't recommend that any man stay in an emotionally abusive relationship, but that for many men, that is a value of them to follow through with their commitment to accept the reality. And there is a way to do that where you regain your sense of strength and confidence as a man so that you are not a victim to your wife's woman ways, and you can use them as your greatest teacher to grow and learn about yourself and regain your strength. And the key message that I want good men to take away today is that you are not responsible for creating the romance and the environment to create passion and excitement in the bedroom with your wife. If she is shut down to sex, anything you do in that regard is likely going to result in you feeling rejected and you feeling like you are the problem and being brainwashed to believe that. So like I say, retiring from making your wife happy, you have to retire from thinking it's your responsibility to heal your wife's relationship with sex. It is her responsibility. Your responsibility is to continue to build your strength and confidence back up as a man so that your wife's treatment of you and her woman ways and the emasculation begins to bounce off and you are strong in yourself and no longer, again, unknowingly give your power away to your wife. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. Thank you so much for being here. I forgot to say this in the beginning. and you guys are great about it in the chat, but please hit like on the video. Consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. I'm so excited about how the channel is growing. We hit 65,000 this week, so thank you so much, and thank you to all of you who are sharing my videos and spreading my message and getting the word out there. I am very, very appreciative of you. So I am going to just take a quick look through the chat box and see if anything pops out for me to address. And then I'm going to be wrapping up. As I've mentioned on my show over the past couple weeks, my husband and I are moving within the Denver area. We are moving to Littleton. And so today begins that process. So I'm going to wrap up here in just a little bit. So just seeing Luke Nielsen, thanks for being here. Always nice to see your name pop up. Excellent stream. Thank you so much. Wow, time flew by. That's how I felt too. I was like, okay, well, I talked for about as long as I usually do, but it felt like it went really fast. And then I found myself during the stream like, am I saying enough about this? Am I talking enough? So thank you so much. Jeff, thanks, Karen. You're so welcome. Just kind of stream up here for a second, see if there are a couple of things I like to check. Okay, not anything there. So go back to top chat. And thanks for your patience as I do this, guys. And thank you again to Josie. Thank you, Josie, for moderating today. I appreciate you being here. Again, you guys go check out her channel if you haven't already. Escape the Alternative Health Matrix. She has another red pill for women who struggle with chronic illness and autoimmune diseases. So be sure to go check that out. Just seeing if any questions pop up. If you guys have a question that you want to ask, you can put it in at the bottom. Thanks, Steve. Home run today, Karen. Thank you so much. Here's a question. Hi, I'm from Colorado Springs. Hi. My husband and I love the Springs. Do you offer in-person courses or something like this? I do not offer in-person courses. Well, not something I'm not considering, and doing some in-person workshops and courses. But right now, the course I have for women to teach women how to be happy, how to have a healthy relationship with themselves. And then the course that I have for good men to teach them how to have healthy boundaries with their wife, even if she doesn't changes, so that they can rebuild their strength and confidence. Those are done online. It's me teaching, but it's an online self-guided course. If that's something you're interested in, guys, you can, there's 2 links below or a link below to schedule a consultation with me. If you don't see a time available, because my schedule is pretty full, thank you, then you can join a wait list. And as things open up, I can reach back out, but also keep checking my calendar. New dates for consultations open up like Tuesday through Friday, because I only have a certain amount of weeks available at one time. So that's how you can get in touch with me to see if one of those courses is a good fit for you. Here's a question. Thank you. And thanks for putting them down at the bottom. I appreciate it. From Troy. Karen, when you chose to take responsibility, did you purge bad influences from your life? Good question. So that's a really, really good question. When I learned to take responsibility, I would say that's the epitome of the path that I teach to women, is taking responsibility. Then I began to naturally outgrow friendships with women who we had created a friendship and camaraderie around being a victim. That as women, we tend to, in our friendships, commiserate, vent to each other, part of my language, bitch about our lives, our husbands. And as I began to get out of that victim mentality, because it really is, sometimes I talk about the matrix on here with my channel being the red pill for women. Living in victim is really this matrix we live in of a false reality where we cannot see clearly our lives. We can't see clearly our relationships because we are entrenched in blame and feeling sorry for ourselves and seeing the problems we have in our lives as happening to us. So as I began to break free from that false reality through the process of taking responsibility, I no longer resonated with complaining or venting or getting, together with my girlfriends and feeling sorry for ourselves and talking about all the problems. And I realized that because that was the experience of myself, I was friends with a lot of women like that just I naturally outgrew those friendships, and they just kind of faded away. And they weren't relationships I wanted to engage with anymore. So that's how I experienced that. Thanks for the question. So just see if there's any one or two more questions down here that would be helpful to answer. Karen, where do we men find the honorable women? It's a good question. As I talk about, as women, we all have these woman ways that I talk about, but on a spectrum. Some women are on the low end of the spectrum. Most are in the middle. Some are on the high end of the spectrum of our woman ways and how we treat men. I'm going to do a video soon on 3 different types of women. I'll briefly go over them now. High maintenance women, low emotional functioning women, and low maintenance women. So fellas, you want to look for low maintenance women. And I'll do a video soon that goes much more in depth into what a low maintenance woman looks like. That is the most, that's the best path to go down. So just, taking a look to see if anything else pops up before I need to head out. And again, a big thank you to Josie for being here today. Just keep seeing her name, pop up. So I think, guys, not to say there aren't other things, but when I look at this, it's like, whoa, there's so much in here. So I am going to wrap up for today. Thank you all so much for being here. Remember to like the video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Also, I intermittently am posting on X, formerly known as Twitter right now. So if you're on X and you want to follow me there, please do. I'm also in the near future going to start posting on Rumble as well. And I'm going to start publishing these long format live shows on Saturdays into podcast format and be putting those on Spotify and other podcast platforms. So that's coming. My husband and I are going to do a video together. As I shared last week, we're both pretty busy right now. He's really busy with his work. I'm busy here too. And then we're in the process of moving. So it will happen after that move, which starts taking place this weekend, and we'll wrap up next weekend. So that's coming. And I think that's it as far as kind of announcements. But thank you guys again so much for being here and supporting the channel. I won't be here next Saturday. That's an important announcement. Because of my move, I won't be here next Saturday. So no live show next Saturday. I'm going to see if I can get one in during the week. So I'll announce that if I'm able to do that. And I look forward to seeing you guys then if I am. If I can't, then I'll see you in 2 weeks, and then we'll be back on the regular schedule Saturdays at 1:00 p.m. Eastern time. So, all right, guys, have a nice weekend. Enjoy the day. Enjoy the Super Bowl tomorrow. I don't know who I'm cheering for. I like the Chiefs, but I also like Brock Purdy. So I think I'll be happy whoever